All right, it's the top of the hour, so let's get started. Thank you all for coming out today to ACSP's 40 Under 40 panel discussion. I'm Nicole Jackson. I'll be very informally hosting this meeting, and we'll kick it off with some basic introductions about who we are, when we were a part of the 40 Under 40, and how it has influenced our career.
Sure, so I can take things. My name is Michelle Campbell, and I am currently a laboratory test developer at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I was honored with ASCP 40 Under 40 recognition in 2016, so it's been a while, but it was really great for a couple of reasons. One, it helped connect me to more individuals within ASCP and really enlightened me about all that they do for their members in terms of recognition, services, everything like that. But then probably the most important thing that came out of that was bringing some visibility to the lab at my particular institution, bringing that visibility to not only others in the healthcare side of things, but the institution as a whole. And that was really wonderful.
I can go next. I'm Allison Chambliss. I'm a doctoral clinical chemist. I'm currently an associate professor of clinical pathology at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, and I direct the clinical chemistry labs at LAC USC Medical Center. I was a 40 Under 40 and a top 6 last year in 2021, along with Nicole. And very similar to what Michelle said, it was just really nice to have that recognition both within my institution even and outside my institution. So a pretty large institution in even our Department of Pathology. You know, we have AP and CP and research and clinical. And so, you know, I normally work in kind of this niche area of chemistry. And so having that recognition, you know, outside of my area was really nice. And also, I was an assistant professor when I applied for 40 Under 40, and my promotion actually just went through last month in March. So that was a really nice and timely way. You know, I was able to put that on my application for promotion kind of at the last minute as that award came through. And I think that was really helpful in demonstrating kind of my national, you know, prominence in my field. So it's been very helpful for me as well.
I can go next. So hi, I'm Erin Oderg. I'm currently a lab quality coordinator at Baptist Health in Jacksonville, Florida. So like Michelle, it's been a while. I was part of the 2017 class, so right after Michelle. So I kind of followed her through volunteering. But it has been an amazing thing. Being part of the 40 Under 40 group, I found so many ways to collaborate and just and met so many lab professionals. I've connected with so many pathologists that I just didn't know were out there to do these great things with. So it's something that currently I also teach at the University of Arkansas in their MLS program, and without getting this opportunity with ASCP as part of the group, I wouldn't have met the people I have to actually get that position and teach the students. So it's amazing.
Hi, I'm Dana Rosano, and I am currently a GI Path Fellow at Stanford. So I was honored with the ASCP recognition in 2018 when I was a resident. So I can tell you from the trainee perspective, it's been extremely valuable in building my career. And like others have mentioned, just the networking alone is really worth going through the program and building those connections. It gives your voice strength because ASCP has created this amazing opportunity to recognize your work. And so I wholeheartedly hope that you'll apply for it.
All right, and I'll close things out. I'm Nicole Jackson. I'm an assistant medical examiner for King County in Seattle, as well as an associate clinical professor at UW's Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathology. Like Allison, I was a top 6 in last year's 40 under 40 honoree class. And echoing what everyone else said, it opened so many doors I didn't know were there, whether it's for networking, whether it's for speaking engagement. Something big for me was mentoring, and I've actually gotten a lot of mentees through this who reached out, especially those underrepresented in medicine. And so it's really been nice to mentor people across the globe. It's not only in the US, it's international. One opportunity I really enjoyed last year was through the ASCP after the 40 under 40, being able to do a series of nationwide radio campaigns to encourage COVID-19 vaccinations, especially in minority communities that were a little more hesitant. So I too hope if you even have an inkling of applying that you do so, and I'm glad y'all came out. So moving on, we'll kind of go around, and if everyone can give some advice, some tips and suggestions for these applications for those that are applying.
I'll start. So a couple of things. The first thing that I did when I was going to decided to put together my application was I sought advice from somebody who had gotten the 40 under 40 and the top 6 the year before in 2020, which was Sarah Wheeler, who's also a doctoral clinical chemist and someone that I had known a little bit. And so that was really helpful, kind of hearing her perspective. I just sent her, a casual email, and she was really excited to talk to me about it. And one of her biggest pieces of advice was to emphasize any sort of like cross-disciplinary work that you have done, because ASCP brings together pathologists and laboratory professionals from so many different areas of laboratory medicine. And so she asked me to think about, what have I done that is cross-disciplinary, or how could my work impact other areas? How would the award allow me to increase networking and collaboration within, these other areas outside of clinical chemistry? And so that was really helpful advice that I think I really took to heart as I answered some of the application questions.
Something else that comes to mind is really highlighting your passion for the profession. That cuts across several of the questions that you're asked to answer on the application. Your passion for what brought you into this, your passion for what sustains you in this career, and your passion for, like Allison said, connecting with others from other teams at the hospital or whatever institution you're working at, and really just hammering that in, as well as highlighting any leadership experience you have. One of the many silver linings of the pandemic is that a lot of us in laboratory medicine and pathology have been pushed into leadership roles, whether that was voluntary or involuntary. And so really highlighting that experience, I think, would be really valuable.
And I'd have to kind of echo what Michelle was saying. Just you want to show them the passion you have for the profession, kind of your vision of where you see the lab going, and nothing's too small. Like if you've done some grassroots work where you've gone to schools as a career ambassador and just talk to kids about the lab, those are great things to kind of talk about. And then also leadership roles, you can even show your leadership roles outside of the laboratory, because as laboratory professionals, we're the educators that are kind of helping the general public understand what's going on with their health. So the fact that you're capable to be a leader in your community, you're able to bring those skills to the laboratory, but also take your laboratory knowledge and convey it to just the people that are just not science people. They understand their health. So.
Yeah, and echoing what Erin said, just considering that no contribution you've made is too small, remember that this is an award for early career people, so they're not expecting you to have completed a 20-year project. You can feel free to talk about projects that are still ongoing and that you don't know if they are going to succeed. I specifically wrote about something that I was working on, and I was hoping that it would pan out. I included that in there because that's work that you're trying to do. So feel free, just be honest and talk about your successes and also what you're continuing to strive for.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I've been telling people, and it's what I did, so I was very nervous to apply. So yeah, if you're out there, I think we were all very nervous to apply and didn't think we would get it, and we did. So have that be somewhat reassuring. But what I did, I went to YouTube and Googled a lot of the videos from past years and just would sit and listen in chunks to different people telling their story and what they did, which I think helped because you had a range of people who had accomplished some big things, but also people that, you know, had plans to do things and realizing that was all fine and all valued. So that helped me a lot. Additionally, I mean, I think it's obvious, take the question seriously. What I tried to do, I feel like I hadn't accomplished that much in terms of projects, but I had all these experiences even back to undergrad that were very formative. And I included, and I mentioned that and how I don't see that in medicine. And that's something I want to bring to medicine because I think a lot, personally, I think a lot is about elevating and amplifying voices. So I just encourage people, I think in medicine and healthcare, we're encouraged a lot to blend in. But I think this is your opportunity to really just tell your story, which is going to make you unique and going to make you stand out.
I have a quick question. You know, I applied and then I noticed like underneath there was a link for somebody to nominate you. Does it hurt you if you did not have somebody nominate you? Because it looked like that was closed up prior to this closing up. So I just wanted to kind of hear your opinions on that.
You can go, Erin.
Okay. No, I don't think it hurts you to nominate yourself. If you're doing something great and people need to see it, or you might inspire someone else by getting it. So if you weren't taking that chance to nominate yourself, then you wouldn't, I mean, the chances you don't take can be hurtful. So I mean, I highly recommend there's nothing wrong with nominating yourself, because if you do get into the top, when you get into the 40 under 40 group, you're going to be able to inspire others. And if you hadn't taken that chance and that risk, who would knows what you could have done. So yeah, no problems with nominating yourself in my view.
Yeah, I think it was more like, you know, is it a prerequisite to kind of, you know, be looked at in a more favorable view if you have that on top of your self-nomination?
I don't think it hurts you. I think you're good. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, that was a good question. But yes, you do not need to be nominated. As long as you are eligible, all the requirements, ASCP would love to have you apply. And if you are nominated, just know you have to complete the full application to be considered. Reminder, applications are due on the 29th of the month, so coming up. All right, so moving on, let's talk about updating and refining our CVs and resumes for the application. I know personally, I've always been, since undergrad, told to just update my CV continually. So to me, it's like a normal habit, and I would encourage everyone, period, to get in that habit if you already aren't. And I keep it on a Google Cloud, so wherever I am, I can access it. But I'll let someone else speak.
I would suggest, you know, compare your before you submit the application, compare your essay answers to your CV and making sure that your CV is supporting the answers you've provided in the essay questions and vice versa. And I'd also offer, you know, to think about that. And I think some of our panelists have kind of already spoken to this point, that sometimes no effort can be too small. And especially those of us at academic institutions, we often focus on, oh, I need these publications or conference presentations on my CV. And we don't often think about the other things that we do. We all work in clinical laboratories. We impact patient care every day. We do really important things. And that doesn't often come across in our publication list straight. So think about, you know, projects that you've done in the laboratory, quality improvement projects, implementing a new method, spearheading a policy change that had an impact on efficiency in a laboratory or something like that. There may not be a PubMed ID associated with that type of initiative, but it's just as important. And especially I think in the context for this type of award is something that you should really highlight. And so you could have a section on your CV for those types of projects and initiatives if you don't already.
Some advice that I was once given was to make sure your brand is kind of consistent, which sounds, so hokey, but, if you're involved in multiple things, maybe you're really heavy in social media but you're writing about education interventions that you've initiated, instead of highlighting the other thing that you're really involved in and that may not be relative to this conversation that you're trying to have on paper, make sure to highlight the things that are really, like was mentioned, in your application itself, because it just kind of makes it easier for reviewers and people to understand who you are and what you've contributed. It's as silly as that sounds, but you got to start somewhere.
I'm not sure if this was asked, but do we know like the composition of the panel of people that are reviewing and what that looks like?
I know that in the past, they typically try to have a healthy balance between individuals representing the different areas of the lab. So for instance, it wouldn't be strictly pathologists reviewing these applications because perhaps there'd be an unintentional bias towards pathologists, or it's not just laboratory professionals for that exact same reason. So I know that they try to keep a very fair balance in representation among different groups.
Thank
And
you.
just to add to the CV question, I believe I attended this last year and somebody just recommended, just double check to make sure if you ASCP is listed under your memberships, because sometimes it's not. It's a little detail people can overlook, but it certainly should be listed.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Make sure you're actually a current ASCP member. That might be something that they might not, that might get you a ding on your application. And then just make sure you've got like we all know this, to have a professional email on your CV, and to, like you guys are saying, to try to keep up with it little by little. I'm guilty of getting a little behind on my CV right now, but I have a running list, but then also have it on the cloud as well. And
all right, moving on to our next talking point. Let's go around and discuss our experience campaigning to make the top 5 or top 6, and what all went involved with that, and what social media platforms did you use? If you weren't big on social media, what did you do to generate votes?
I can start. So this was a little bit of a challenge for me, and it was a little intimidating. I have a Twitter and I also use LinkedIn. So I leverage both of those. I don't have huge followings. I'm not a really heavy user of social media. So it was a little, nerve-wracking for me, but I did put, to post about myself and to ask for votes, but I did on both of those things. But I would say what I think was maybe the most effective, because I don't have a huge social media following, was my department sharing the news and the link. And this was actually advice that I had gotten from Sarah Wheeler as well, is that, to know that people can vote. I believe this is still the case. People can vote daily, and you don't have to be an ASCP member or have a login to apply. So you can actually distribute the link, more broadly. So your department or your university or your hospital or institution, when you get the 40 under 40, the ASCP staff put together a nice press release for you to share with your institution. And so as as advertising that press release, you can also advertise that there will be a voting period. And so that can really help get the word out there. And then I also just sent it to friends and family, who usually do not work in laboratory medicine and didn't really know what it meant, but they were really excited for me anyways, and said, oh, I'm going to vote, and share it with my friends as well. So that definitely helps as well.
Okay, I can go. So for me, Twitter was kind of a big thing. I don't have a huge following. So I found that actually the other 40 under 40 honorees, we all helped each other get like our own visibility out there. Cameron Mercer was in my group, and he was happy to kind of promote us as well. And then as a member of the Council of Laboratory Professionals, we try to promote some of our honorees as well. So that was one way. So the ASCP councils kind of helped a little bit with promoting it, and the press release thing as well did help them. During my class, I was still working at Mayo, and they did like something in their newsletter, and they promoted it. And then from that, they shared it with the actual lab department. So that kind of helped as well. Because yeah, it's hard when you don't have a big following, but some of your honorees will help you out.
And on the flip side, it's also a really great chance to make those connections with fellow honorees or past honorees. So let's say you don't have a very big social media following. That's your chance to, kind of promote yourself to try to get into the top 5 or top 6, whatever it may be this year. And also networking, because one of the best things about ASCP and the 40 under 40 honor is the networking aspect and those connections you make. So it can kind of be dual purpose, making connections on social media, LinkedIn, everything like that, and then also advocating for yourself to get in that top 5.
I had to be honest with this one. I was just way too shy to promote myself. And I maybe posted about it one time, but I have a very outgoing spouse who's in internal medicine. And I think that the entire internal medicine department probably voted because of him. So like you're saying, it's not limited to just ASCP members or people in pathology even. But also on that same note, know that that is not the only thing that is considered when making the top 5 or 6 or whatever it is now. Your contributions to the field are definitely heavily considered, and I don't know the exact process about the votes, but I know it's not just the votes. So don't worry if you're very shy like me as well.
And then my campaigning experience, so we all have to make a video and post it. I did post it on LinkedIn, which to me is just a running live CV. I don't usually use LinkedIn that much, but I used it for this. Twitter at the time, I'd say I had a moderate following. It's definitely grown since being in the top 40. And then Facebook, which is non-professional for me, it's all friends and family. And they were so thrilled to see me in there. I mean, I had like my late grandmother's church group voting for me daily, and like no one in a lot of my votes, I think probably didn't come from medicine, but it was also great. So don't limit yourself to the medical field or the hospital you work in. People you haven't talked to since like kindergarten would be more than happy to vote for you. So just remember that too. All right. Anyone else have any last comments on
I have
campaigning?
one more thought. Yeah, just and have fun with it. It is like Michelle was saying, like everyone's saying, it's a platform. You can run with it, have fun promoting yourself, have fun getting to know everybody as you're campaigning. So it's supposed to be a great experience. So yeah, enjoy it.
All right. Our next topic is discuss your experience. I guess we're just on to question and answer. So I guess we'll open it up. Anybody have any questions on anything we have not addressed yet?
Yeah, how quick is the review cycle after the submission that you kind of get notified, if you're in or not?
That is a good question. I personally don't remember off the top of my head. I'm trying to Google right now if I can find something, but probably not because I don't work at that institution anymore, so I can't retrieve those emails.
Okay, no worries.
I don't know the official answer, but just anecdotally, I remember I was notified. I think we were notified a little bit before the public announcement, and then I believe for 2021, the public announcement went out in September. Because I was at another meeting when it happened, and so it was all a buzz at that time. So I don't know if that's consistent every year. Maybe the ASCP staff could help us with that question, but that was how it happened last year.
And I'm hoping it would be, I have no insider knowledge on this, but I'm hoping it would be a little sooner this year, only because the annual meeting, which is in Chicago this year, is at the beginning of September. And it's free registration for all ASCP members, and it's the 100-year celebration. So it's the perfect time to go. But I know that we would love to have everyone who is a 40 under 40 honoree there. So hopefully it's a little sooner than it has been in previous years. But looks like someone in the chat asked if we know the average number of applicants each year. That I do not have information on. I don't know if anyone else does.
No.
Oh, but we got an answer from Natalie. Honorees will be announced in early August. So that gives you some time to plan.
Just anecdotally, I think it is a considerable amount of applications. Just having been on a review committee in the past, and I think there was quite a bit for the number of like total spots.
I have a question. I just wanted to know, like, so when should we think ourselves that we're prepared to undergo, like, to apply for ASCP 40 under 40? Should we wait for a while, build up our CV, and then apply, or should we just apply right away and then if you don't get it, then keep applying or something like that?
I would say I would go ahead and apply, and then just apply again, because I mean, hopefully you'll get it the first time, but if you don't get it the first time or the second time, it's going to show how much dedicated and passionate you have for it and for the profession. And they're also going to, as the years go through, you'll see you kind of look what you're still doing. I didn't get the 40 under 40 honoree, but look, I'm still impacting the profession. Look at all these things that I want to do. And when I do get it, look, I'm going to just run with this platform and take my great ideas and just build off of that and collaborate with ASCP. So I would say just go for it.
Yeah, I think you have nothing to lose, and hold on to your application answers. I think I like typed everything out in Microsoft Word and counted all the words and everything before I submitted, and then just hang on to that. And if you don't get it the first time, just build on that, the next year, and your application can only get better from there. And then you're that much more prepared, to apply the second time around if you need to.
Yeah, and I think as someone else pointed out previously, this is geared toward those in their early careers. So I think everyone feels like, oh, I could just wait a little longer and accomplish one more thing or two more things. And you could do that indefinitely and then miss the age cutoff, right? So I don't think it hurts applying now. I know I didn't think I was ready. I was coming straight out of fellowship. And I'm glad I did. So
I'll also say, the more senior you get in your career, the more you take on. And so you might think like, oh, I might be more qualified later, but you may also be a lot busier later and you may not have as much time to dedicate to the application. So if you feel ready and capable now, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nicole, did you want to talk about who would make a strong reference? Maybe everyone could go around and say who was
Yeah.
the reference that they put on their application.
I don't remember. I've been busy. Forensics has been really, really busy. I don't remember who I would put on, but my advice is always put down the person you think knows you the best, you know, whether that's a PI of a project, whether that's a program director, whether that's somebody in a volunteer capacity that watched you grow this like small outreach program, someone that can speak to who you are, the potential they see in you, your commitment to anything you've taken on before. So personally, whoever that individual is, that's who I would recommend.
I would second that. My reference for my application was Lynette Shakapak, and she actually introduced me to lab science. So I took a field trip up to her hospital when she was a program director, and just seeing the lab and all the amazing stuff that we do, that just kind of got me hooked. And then 10 years later, I was teaching a diagnostic micro class, and she came and did a guest lecture. So she was able to see that, and then things that I didn't even see in myself. So I would definitely have to second your sentiments that, yeah, pick someone that knows you and can see all your potential, because they'll support you and sponsor you and bring you along and help you how they can, even past the application.
And this builds on what Nicole and Erin have already said, but if you have someone in your professional network that knows you, some of your personal qualities, you know, someone that you've connected with and had real conversations with, and that just makes them all the better of a reference because they can speak to your character and some of your personality traits that really make you exceptionally qualified for this. And it sounds like the individuals on today's call found references like that. And that's really powerful because it helps speak beyond just the facts that are already listed on your CV and why you're qualified at the next level.
Yeah, I think similarly, I chose to list people that were familiar with that particular aspect of my work. Because, you know, my application was centered around my work in global health, but the people that I work with on a daily basis aren't involved in that. And so I definitely pulled in somebody that was very familiar with that work and would be able to vouch for it, basically.
That's a really good point, Dana. As you want to find someone who can vouch for the activities that you've emphasized, you know, through your essay questions and your CV. So mine was more centered around my kind of day-to-day work in clinical projects at my institution. So my reference was our CLIA director, who I directly report to at my laboratory. But if you're emphasizing other types of projects outside of your day-to-day work, then finding someone who can vouch for those is important and a really great idea.
I have a question. How many of you have served on like ASCP specific committees prior to doing it, or have not served prior, and how does that favor you?
So
Oh no, you go ahead, Nicole.
So I had not, this was my first real experience with the ASCP. I had not served on anything, really engaged them in any capacity except for, I think, board review questions or something. And since then, I've been actively engaged with them. So I also like that this was my exposure to them. And then I met all these great people, went to the conference, and I'm able to start getting more involved. So if you have not, I don't think that's going to limit you.
Exactly. I had a very similar experience in that getting the 40 under 40 honor opened more doors for me within ASCP and helped me get more involved and connected me with individuals that I wouldn't have otherwise met. And so not having ASCP experience, I wouldn't say is a negative at all.
Yeah, I beforehand, I think the only real volunteer experience I had was as a career ambassador, where I'd done some volunteering with some students, but before that, it was just I was doing stuff in my community. But yeah, once the 40 under 40 honoree happened. And I didn't make my top 5, but I met so many amazing people. So just being an honoree, but from that, you get so involved with ASCP. I was chair of the Council of Laboratory Professionals last year. I'm involved with social media and DE&I and even stuff outside of ASCP. From that, I've gotten to be a part of a National Student Cell Bowl and do microbiology Pictionary with an idol, a icon of mine, Dr. Bobby Pritt. So we even were on a team, so that'll air for Lab Week. So it's just, the skies are the limit. You don't have to be a diehard volunteer with ASCP, but once you you get in there, you can't break away. It's one of those things that really kind of holds on to you and you feel a big part of.
Yeah, actually similar story for me. I was not that active with ASCP prior to applying for 40 under 40. I was a member, I think like Nicole, I was contributing some of the RISE exam questions, but otherwise I wasn't on any committees. And actually my committee work up until this point has been primarily with AACC in clinical chemistry. So I kind of use this as a way to branch out and interact with folks in different laboratory medicine areas. And so this process was kind of my gateway into becoming more active with ASCP. So certainly it sounds like it's definitely not a requirement, as many of us were not very active with ASCP committees prior to this process.
Yeah, definitely for me too. I'll echo that. I mean, I was only a second-year resident at the time, so I had gone to the meeting and didn't know anybody. And I this is just a chance to shout out how wonderful an organization that ASCP is, that they really specifically look to lift people up. And it's not a game of favoritism. It is not who you know. It really is such an empowering organization, and they're looking for you, and they want to know more about you and what you're contributing to the field.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Anything?
I have a question for the rest of you guys. So with your 40 under 40 honorees, the people in your class, do you keep up with quite a few of your fellow honorees? Have they become lifelong friends? And for me, there's people I know I can count on and call, for like my friend Tiffany Chan, or just different people that I've met through ACP and through the honorees. We've kind of kept up over the past 5 years. I wasn't sure how you guys have been. You've kind of kept up with each other, or?
Oh yeah. Aaron will laugh at this because he knows, but Dana Baker, who is the current chair of the Council of Lab Professionals for ASCP, her and I were top 5 honorees in 2016 together, and we just keep following each other unintentionally in ASCP and elsewhere. So that connection has definitely withstood the test of time. And then there are a lot of connections with past honorees, because you'll see past honorees that you recognize, say from ASCP's website and such, at meetings, and then you automatically have that in common and you connect, and you'll just keep running into each other, and Erin can attest to that, but I'd love to hear about the others.
I know from our group, we all started following each other on Twitter, and kind of like Nicole said, like those of us who weren't very active on Twitter or didn't have such a notable following, it kind of grew from there, and at least like we all followed each other, and that helped. I wasn't able to attend the meeting last year, which was really a bummer for me, because I know that would have been a great opportunity to see everybody in person. And I know, COVID's made that difficult, but hopefully going forward, the honorees meeting at the annual meeting, we'll kind of return to that again. And then like Michelle said, just I've noticed now, if people have it on their, Twitter tagline or bio, from a previous year, even if it wasn't the same year, it's just kind of a connection or a natural bond that you have with someone. Like Erin mentioned, Cameron Mirza, I collaborated on him with him on something recently, and I didn't really know him beforehand, but it was just kind of this natural connection that we had because we have both been through this process. So absolutely, it's a great way to meet new people.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think our class with COVID, only 2 of us wound up attending the meeting. So I think that made it a little difficult, but we do all follow each other on Twitter. And I attest to, the intergenerational conversations and relationships you have with previous classes of honorees and different opportunities, a lot of connections, a lot of links that come with it. So.
Yeah, it's definitely, as was mentioned so many times, the most amazing networking opportunities you're going to find. And yeah, I've been able to meet so many more people involved in global health and even publish with them and work on projects with them. And all of those things would not have been possible if it weren't for this opportunity.
And then I would say just when you do get it, just make sure you mentor, bring people along with you. Make sure you're bringing in that next class of 40 under 40 and inspiring them to do great things as well. And you just kind of keep building up the 40 under 40 family. And so it's definitely a great place to be.
All right, no more questions, anything. This is your last opportunity, or from any of the panelists, any last words of wisdom, advice? I'll say, looking back, I'd say enjoy the ride. I think I was nervous about everything from the essays, from making the video, but during these months of campaigning, I really reconnected with people from all different parts of my life that hadn't really gotten big updates. And, part of that was just really heartwarming and seeing them so supportive, after not talking to them for 5, 10, 20 years. So yeah, it's a fun ride. Stop to take some pleasure in that.
Yeah, I would also say, because, so many of you who are joining the call today or people who will listen afterwards, you're clearly a motivated individual if you're attending these sessions to begin with. And so I'm sure many of you will be 40 under 40 honorees. And when that happens, just, don't be afraid to shout it from the rooftops, because it's not just a pat on the back for yourself. It's visibility for the profession, but it's also a huge honor for all of those who have helped you along the way. I know that my undergrad medical lab science program was so proud. And so, sometimes as laboratory professionals or pathologists, we fit into that stereotype of being a little shy or a little introverted, but just remember all the people that are also experiencing this honor with you, and you want to highlight the accomplishment for them and the people who have helped you along the way. And like Nicole said, enjoy the ride, because it's, could be a little intimidating at some points or a little stressful at other points, but it's such a wonderful experience that goes by very quickly. So you really want to savor it.
Yeah, I second that. It's yeah, enjoy the ride. Like, I had never actually taken professional headshots before, and you have to do that for part of where they actually feature you. There's lots of things that I just had never done, or things I never thought of from the little things I'd been doing in my community. So it's yeah, just enjoy the ride, make the most of it. It's a platform, and just run with it. Bring your great ideas, and ASCP is very good about the theme of just empowering you to. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you do these great things and bring your ideas to life. So just to enjoy it and run with it, and meet as many people and network with as many people as you can, and just have fun.
Yeah, and in closing for me, I would just echo that and say, you know, thank you to ASCP, because there aren't a lot of places or organizations where you can get an award like this, you know, at this level in your career. And it's really, you know, in some ways more important to get these types of recognitions earlier in your career, because they lead to bigger and better things. So thank you to ASCP and to, you know, those who have inspired us and gotten the award before us for inspiring us to apply.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right, so nobody else, anything else to say? It's thank you for coming out, and I believe applications are due on the 29th. Double check your word limits. Make sure you're an ASCP member. Membership is free for trainees, and also this year's ASCP conference will be in Chicago, and attendance is free with membership. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal this year.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, everyone.